This seems like there's not much break.
Okay, here we go. Good evening and welcome to a special meeting of the City Council for Monday, September the 11th, 2017. At this time, we will call the meeting to order, and we will do roll call, starting on my left.
Buddy Temple, Councilman at Large.
Jim Brooks, Council at Large.
Dave Harrison, Councilman, District 5.
Dan McMillan, Clerk Treasurer.
Craig Wiley, City Attorney.
Vito Mascari, Councilman, District 2.
Chris Duffer, District 3.
Kevin Day, District 4.
Thank you. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. This time, I think it would be appropriate if we pause for a moment of silence in remembrance of September the 11th, 2001. Thank you. This evening, Council, we have no unfinished business. We'll go right into new business. We have three items. We have General Ordinance Number 8, 2017, which is the 2018 salary ordinance. General Ordinance 9, 2017, which is the 2018 budget. And then we have a public hearing. And I think the way I would like to handle it is I would like to go through the salary ordinance. I don't want to bring it for a motion. I don't want to introduce it for a motion yet. I just want to go through it and talk about it. And then I'll ask Dan to go through the 2018 budget. Don't want to introduce it yet. And then once we've completed that, then we'll go into the public hearing and hear comments from the general public. And then once that period is over, then we'll go back and introduce the ordinances on first reading only. So we'll start with the General Ordinance Number 8, 2017. That is the salary ordinance fixing the salaries for appointed and elected officials and employees of the city of Beech Grove. And I put a sheet with the ordinance so you can follow through it, and I'll go off of that sheet somewhat. In that ordinance, anywhere that there was bold print indicates a change from 2017. In this ordinance, there are no increases plugged in for elected or appointed officials. However, as written, the council can amend the ordinance to provide increases to those folks. All part-time hourly rates were increased by 2%. These are the maximum rates that someone can be paid part-time. That doesn't mean they'll be paid that. They just can't go any higher than that. All full-time employees of the city have a 2% raise plugged in for 2018. On page 6, under the Chief's Assistant and Animal Control Officer, the police chief has asked for an increase for 2018. Listed below are the 2017 rates for both positions, and they're spelled out in this sheet. So when the time comes, I'll ask him, during the public hearing, I'll ask him to come up and explain why he feels that these two individuals should have their base salary increased. In this ordinance,
Mayor,
yes,
before we really start getting into this, I had 4 mathematical corrections, if you wanted me to tell you those.
I will. Let me get done, and then I would ask that you you give those to me and I'll plug them in.
Okay.
Since it's not introduced.
All right.
In this ordinance, longevity has been increased from $100 to $110 for all full-time employees. Elected officials are not eligible for that increase. In this ordinance, clothing allowance for police and fire has been increased from $800 to $900. In this ordinance, the meal allowance for the fire department has been increased from $14 to $15. In this ordinance, shift differential for the police department has been increased by 50 cents. Holiday pay for the fire department was inserted into this ordinance for 2018. There is no change, as this has been paid this way for many years. It was put into the ordinance just for disclosure purposes. For the counsel for the fire department and the police department, I will defer to those departments to explain this ordinance to you and why they want these changes in the salary ordinance. And we can go through these page by page if you like. That's a pretty good rundown, what I just went through of what is in this ordinance for you to consider on first reading tonight. Now, Counselor, if you want to give me those four numbers, I will plug those in.
On page 2,
Uh-huh.
the billing clerk, where the yearly salary is 45,174.17. That should be 45,174.11.
Okay.
On the
Chris,
next,
could you repeat that? The billing clerk,
yeah, the billing clerk, her yearly salary, I didn't calculate up the difference in the bi-weekly. I'll let you do that, Dan, but
Oh, okay.
the yearly should be 45,174.11.
okay. 6 cents difference.
Then on page 3, the commercial driver, looks like they just transposed a couple numbers. Where it says 47,110.08, that should be 47,101.08.
Okay.
And then on that same page down below, where we have the part-time for the Parks General Staff part-time and the Parks Janitorial Services part-time, instead of 1581, that should be 1377 for each of those. And all I did is take last year's ordinance and then multiply it times the 1.02, and then there's just a couple calculation errors. I think that's all I had that was different or wrong.
Okay. Under the, on page 5, under the position pay for the fire department, I need to add an asterisk, and it would say, position pay listed above is not calculated in the base salary. I left that out, and I apologize for that. That is all I have. And then what we will do is we will have the public hearing and then come back, and then we will introduce General Ordinance 8 on first reading only. And then the council will be allowed to have open discussion. At this time, I would like to defer to the clerk to go through General Ordinance number 9, the budget for 2018, without introducing it on first reading. Dan?
You want to do each department? Is that what you're wanting?
No, you had a nice rundown sheet. that goes through and of all the things that are covered in this.
The budget
There you go,
notes.
that's it.
Right
Okay.
here.
Yeah.
2018 budget notes, 2% raise for everyone, including elected officials, which total approximately $3,000. This is more fiscally responsible than waiting 10 or 20 years and having a huge increase. That is actually not in this salary ordinance. Next one is decrease in the mayor's budget, decrease in the clerk treasurer's budget of over $10,000. City council increased budget, sound system, $7,000. City court, no changes except for salary increases. Board of Works, Greenway, $15,000. Senior Center, increase in maintenance and repairs from $800 to $2,500. Senior Center, appliance replacement, $2,500. Community Center and Parks budget, increase per board request. Police and Public Safety, increased budgets includes radios and police cars and chief's request. Fire Medic Service and Public Safety, increased budgets include fire radios, Plum event upgrade and most of chief's request, medic service, ambulance re-chassis, striker cots, and contractual. LRNS increased budget to $580,000, includes $400,000 to fund matching grant. MVH increased budget $360,000 for the Churchman Avenue roundabout. Some budgets may see a decrease in their health insurance and/or health savings. This is due to a couple of things. One, we budgeted high last year because we were unsure of where the increase on the rates was going to land. And two, many have dropped their health insurance and chosen to be insured on their spouse's insurance. If we would run short on any insurance, we will do an additional appropriation in 2018 to fund it. Regarding overtime in the public safety, there was not room to budget for an increase. If we see we are coming in under budget after our purchases of radios, cots, ambulance, re-chassis, and police cars, we can transfer that into overtime. This budget is funded and balanced. Thanks.
All right. That is the General Ordinance 9, the operating budget for 2018. Now what I would like to do is open it up for public hearing, and we'll go off of that list as well, Craig, and I would like to sign up at the end. So,
Dennis, I got one question
Sure.
before we proceed, and it's not on the agenda tonight, but it's resolution number 13, the statement of objection appealing action of tax adjustment. We probably should do that on first reading tonight. Or, well, we can do that in one reading. Okay,
Yeah.
never mind. I apologize.
that's all right. We'll do that after the business is over on the October 2nd meeting.
Okay.
Okay, Counselor? Or-
Okay. Suzie?
Good evening, counselors. My name is Susie McMillan, and I believe this is my fifth year up here, and I'd just like to say thank you to the clerk treasurer, Dan McMillan, my husband, for doing the budget, and I'm happy to have it out of my house, off my floors, off my kitchen table, and everywhere else. So, thank you.
That's it?
Say something about Wiley or something? I mean,
All right. Chief Schwartz.
Good evening, council. I'm sorry I won't be that quick. The first thing is, I'm going to ask for a decrease in the police department. It's because it was a clerical error, and I'll have Nathan explain why.
Yes, thank you. In the lieutenant's pay,
that was agreed upon and worked out in our contract, there was about a $500 calculation error. All of the percentages that were agreed to in the contract are correct. It's just, I believe, when Captain Ferreira put pen to paper after doing a million figures in the last month, he missed a 5. So we have no objection to the decrease. I do appreciate the city immediately, as soon as they saw it, got a hold of us, let us know what they were seeing, and we worked to get it taken care of, so.
Thank you, Nathan. I have 2 other items, and they are for the chief's assistant and for the animal control. For the chief's assistant, I'm asking for a $3,000 base pay increase, and that is because our chief's assistant is doing part of the clerk treasurer's job as far as doing salary ordinance, the tickets that come in. As you know, I don't know if you do know, the ticket writing for the court ordinance violations has increased. It's a job that I agreed to take on, but I think now that she's busier, she has computer stuff that she does for us, and I think it's appropriate to increase her pay for the job that she's had to do. She's streamlined it with our clerk of the courts, which made it much easier to function with that. They both work together, the assistant and the court clerk. That's a $3,000 increase. The second one is our animal control officer, a $3,000 increase on his base pay, and that is because ordinances has increased his job. We now have the city, well, we have the city court. He writes summonses, tickets for people in the city, and he has to go to court now. He has to testify. He had to go through some training to be able to write tickets and be able to learn how to testify. I think our city attorney can testify that he's gone through some work doing that. And just the ordinance that's increased his job, plus our building, the building maintenance, he's in charge of doing all that. It's just his work has increased, and I'd appreciate your consideration for that. Any questions?
Chief, this don't have anything to do with what you're, well, just out of curiosity, how long has the animal control officer been with the department?
I'm going to guess it's 15 years.
Okay.
Longer than that.
I was thinking that myself, but
Well, Steve, and then with Retha, she's been on over 20 years.
okay. Just a thought for the future, I might think about, I know police officers and firefighters do this with maybe it might sound strange, a first-class animal control officer, and because, that first year after that, boy, you learn quite a bit of that job, that's for sure. That was all I have.
Thank you.
All right. Has Sergeant Rinks, are you done? Did you want to speak more? Okay. Joe Grant.
I think most of you folks know me. I'm Joe Grant. I'm here today advocating for the Parks Board. I've been on only 3 months, so I'm kind of unprepared tonight to talk about the budget, but it sounds like Dan has granted what we put in for the most part. I'm just here tonight to kind of let the city of Beech Grove in general know how lucky they are to have a guy like Tom Hannon. He's been coined the name hardest working man in Beech Grove, and nothing against the police and fire. But he is. He does the work of 2 or 3 full-time people, so he does a great job. Angel does a great job. We've got more programs over there than we've ever had, offering a lot of things that from children all the way up to older folks, free clinics and things like that. The thing that we're really starting to look at is try to be proactive down the road. We've got a lot of dead trees in the park that we're going to have to come up with funds to get removed. They're dangerous. Even if our budget is filled this year, we need to really start looking at the parks. I think Tom had said the other day at our last meeting that our budget, the parks budget, is actually less now than it was 7 years ago. I don't think many departments in the city of Beech Grove can say that. Seems like everybody got hit pretty hard when the recession came. We had to cut everything to keep from going bankrupt. And it seems like most of the departments have recovered, except the Parks Department. So just food for thought when we look at the budget for next year. And we're going to start being proactive ourselves. We're looking into starting a Parks Foundation to where folks can contribute, be tax deductible dollars. So,
Like you see at Garfield Park or whatever?
yes, because the parks, our parks, I was driving through them the other day, they're beautiful. And we've got a lot to offer the citizens. We don't want to offer less, we want to improve on what we got. And
You wouldn't want to pay Tom by the hour, would you?
No.
No. Okay.
And that's it. Thank you very much.
Joe?
Yes.
I'll tell you, since I've been on the council, and Dan knows, and I think maybe Buddy knows, I've always advocated that the parks budget should be bigger. And they don't disagree, it's just, where's the money?
Right.
And I think Chris Duffer, it seems like, might have mentioned, is there a way that you guys can look into getting grants, or is that,
Well, we don't have a grant writer. I think Dan was trying to work out a deal with the police chief to maybe use their, maybe I'm talking out of turn, but he was trying to get a grant writer that would do some work for the Parks Department that does grants for the rest of the city, or the police department, fire department. They're pretty successful getting their grants, so we need whoever's doing theirs maybe help us.
because I'm like you, the parks are very nice, and I think we upgraded some of the play equipment when we got the bond 5 years ago, maybe.
Right, and I think we got 10 grand from the city for the.
Yeah, and I
I
just
think Tom's going to buy a new lawnmower or something with that.
that's something else I think that should be upgraded. I mean, I think they should put,
Yeah, we got a
More
fundraiser,
and
what,
better.
on October 7th?
yeah,
To try to raise some money, but the way I understand it, until we have a foundation, the money that people donate will not be tax deductible, so
Yeah.
you're not gonna get the big corporations and everything to give unless they can write it off.
right.
So and there again, starting a foundation is not just like that, it's a lot of work that goes into doing it, so we're gonna start in that direction.
Thank you.
Thanks, Joe.
Good evening, Council. Paul Cloyd, Beech Grove Professional Firefighters Union District President and representative of Indianapolis Local 416. I just want to make a couple quick notes on this budget. You guys noted we got an addition to our meal allowance. We didn't get any cheaper. The federal standard is roughly $34 as it stands now, which we would never ask for that, but guys are stuck on station for 24 hours, so they have to eat, and this helps kind of curb that. So it's a big thing for us. You also see the increase, the uniform allowance. A lot of our uniform we get purchased for us on our initial hire, but afterwards gloves, hoods, that sort of thing, those wear out very quickly and need replaced, especially as we get more and more technology and we find out more cancer prevention and how important this is and how much we're really affected. These things get more and more expensive. I've bought hoods myself personally for $40 in the past. The hood I currently use is a cancer screening, a special particulate screening hood that is designed to reduce your carcinogen exposure on a fire, and it's $147 to purchase it. So these things get more expensive as time goes on. So, and same with the police. Their equipment doesn't get any cheaper, so this helps offset that cost. And the longevity has been the same for, maybe a couple of you guys on the council know, since it's been $100 a year. So we would, a small bonus to that, which will change. It really helps out people's pockets and encourages people to stay here for longer and make sure they put their time in. And then, yeah, I think that's all I have. So, but thank you, and hope you guys vote well.
Sorry, I didn't know exactly when I was supposed to talk about the contract. I just want, this was a tough, rapid-fire contract negotiation that happened over the period of, I don't know, maybe 5 weeks, if that. I mean, we squeezed in about 3 months' worth of negotiating in about 5 weeks' time. I think what we agreed to is something very workable for the city, and it sounds like money's been found to fund it, and it's got some decent increases across the board, and it's going to help us begin to become more competitive. We're competitive in some areas. We still have like I say, hands down the best equipment around, especially on the south side. You see some of the junkers IMPD rides around in, and some of the other small agencies. It just doesn't even compare. But, you know, sometimes it comes down to dollars. And this is getting us closer to staying competitive with the north side agencies that are growing rapidly and stealing a lot of the recruits. Helps us get closer to IMPD, who is always, I mean, they're hiring, I don't know, maybe 50, 60 a year, maybe more. It depends on their budget. So I'd like to thank you guys. I'd like to thank the mayor, Dan, everybody else who was involved in the contract negotiation. It was tough at times. There was a little bit of fussing, but I think we found a good workable contract for the next 2 years that'll help make us more competitive, help us fill these 3 spots we still have to fill. And it also looks out for our retirees too. They get a little bit more of a bump this year, a little bit more of a bump than they've had in quite a while. So that's a real good deal.
All right, council, I want to talk about the budget as mayor, but also private citizen. Dennis Buckley, 112 North 6th Avenue. This budget that was going to be introduced here pretty soon, along with the budgets for the past 4 or 5 years, have been really good budgets. We have to remain competitive, but we also have to keep the service going. And in this budget, you're going to fund the remainder of the Churchman Roundabout, except for the construction cost. And that is a big thing. You've already this year did an appropriation to fund the Churchman Sidewalk project. So you are making great strides in the progress of the city. And along with what Joe Grant said, we have to have good parks. And pretty soon you'll be appropriating money for the Greenway, which could change everything about this city. So that is good stuff. The local roads and street budget is up to $580,000. Now, the clerk and I and Brad and a couple others, we once again this year applied for funding for almost $500,000 to pave more local streets. And that comes as a result of this line item in the budget. So this is really good progressive things that this city needs to do. Now, having said that, it's very unfortunate that we have to take the position that we have to buy radios through an agency that tells us what type of radio to buy, and plus gives us no option to help finance this. So I just want you to think about how good we would be if we didn't have to spend $300,000 on radios. We could do a lot more for the people of this city. But it's unfortunate that we have to do this, and I don't know what other option we have. So anyway, these are good things. And the clerk treasurer's budget, the mayor's budget for 5 or 6 years, Dan, you can help me with this, we've went the wrong way, but it's because we wanted to take care of other budgets. The mayor's budget only has $400 to promote the city. And it's been like that for 6 years since I've been mayor. I never said a word to anybody. I pay for almost all of it out of my pocket anyway. But anyway, I would certainly recommend that you approve this budget that is soon to be presented to you on first reading. The salary ordinance, a couple things have changed, but for the most part, it's the same. But what hasn't changed is what we do, what the employees of this city do every single day for us. Already this year, from January 1st to the end of May, the police department has made over 11,500 runs. That's staggering. That is far and above going to surpass what they did last year. the street department, Public Works, has picked up over 3,135 tons of trash from January to the end of August. And that's with recycling. The senior citizens have transported over 1,200 seniors to local grocery stores and to doctor's offices in the first 6 months of this year. That's high. That's a high number. Yes, Chris?
We had asked the question earlier, before you go, I don't mean to interrupt you, but you're on the subject of how much trash they've picked up tonnage-wise. We had talked in the past when recycling first started, and you couldn't answer the question because the program was too new, but how much has the recycling detracted from the tonnage that Brad has to get rid of each month?
Between 45 and 50%, or they would be picking up 50% more tonnage.
Okay, good.
And the fire department, the 2 fire engines that we run, engine 56 and engine 57, through the end of July, has made over 2,400 runs. They're running the wheels off of these machines. The ambulance, both of the ambulances that we run, has made over 3,240 responses in the first 7 months of this year. That's tremendous. That's staggering. Jim could attest better than anybody. Those numbers were unheard of when him and I were on the fire department. It's no wonder the clerk plugged in to have an ambulance re-chassis. You got to. They'll fall apart if you don't. We're that busy. These men and women are generating over $1 million a year in revenue for this city. So that all comes into play when you want to talk about salaries. The longevity. When I hired on in February of 1980, you know what my longevity was? $100 a year.
75, I think.
Was it 75? I thought it was $100. 37 years ago.
I think it was 75.
Hadn't changed. Meal allowance was $7.50. So when we talk about these things, we should give these raises. We should increase these salaries. We should increase these benefits for these people. They're working for us. And that's what keeps them here. We have good machinery. Over the past 5 or 6 years, we have invested heavily in these departments, including Public Works. We are doing so much better with the manual and salaries, but we need to keep going. And tonight, this salary ordinance for 18 is just another example of the next step that we need to take. So I would encourage you to pass General Ordinance Number 8 this evening on first reading only. Thank you. Anybody else sign up to speak?
Yep, that's it.
We'll close the public hearing, and we'll go right into the ordinance number 8, 2017, the salary ordinance for 2018. And I will open the floor for discussions for council members.
Yeah, I want to ask a question, Mayor, on longevity. Does that $10 start for this budget? Does anything go retroactive?
No, it would be retroactive. It would be, if I had 10 years on the job, I would get $1,000, but with the increase, I would get $1,100 next year.
Okay. These are some things that I know that some counselors have brought to my attention, and I also, was to determine exactly what that meant, because I know one of the things, and I'd like other people to comment up here, and sit up here, that is, we really don't even know what the dollar figure of that is. But it is going to differ. I can do it if it's from here on. I can't do it individually based on other people, so.
Brad, Mark, and Rob, do you know right off the top of your head what the dollar figures are?
Mine's $1,480. Ours decreased because we had 2 senior members leave last year, so it decreased about $1,500.
It decreased?
It decreased.
We had 2 members with, 30 years.
Okay,
So
okay.
we actually, all that costs.
Rob, do you know what the dollar amount is, though? Even with the decrease?
Yes, I do. If you give me just a second. $47,300.
You sure that's right, Rob? Sounds like an awful lot.
Total?
Oh, that's total. I'm sorry. They were doing the increase.
Rob, do you know what just the increase is?
It decreased.
Oh, yeah, you're right. Okay.
Now, in time, that will catch back up.
Right.
That's one of the things I have. I just, that was just something that's not clear within what we had. Something to think about, anybody anything else to say on that. The other thing is that, is placing things like certification pay, and I can only see one merit for it, and that'd be for retirees. Do retirees, are they based on which class patrolman? Is it first?
First class.
I'd rather see that raise and certifications be placed exactly where they are at.
It's based on the third year.
Third year, okay. And is it actually the,
It's called first class patrol.
how is it? So master patrolman is called first class patrolman?
Master patrolman no longer exists.
It doesn't exist, it was removed in just,
Okay, so that,
we have probationary, second year, and then.
What'd you say, Chief?
We have a probationary officer, second year, and then the third year is considered first class patrol.
that is still what we're looking at on how pensions are looked at, right?
Yes.
Yeah, I was not for adding the money for being a graduate of the police academy or the paramedic pay into the base salary. I think we should leave that broken out. So that's, I think Buddy had alluded to that.
Yeah, I do agree. There's no loss of money for anybody. I
No.
mean, you might start calculating here, but as of, at least of the budget we're working on, there's no loss of, not like no one's taking any money away, but it is, I think it becomes kind of difficult down the road. And you think for a city, sometimes it wouldn't, but I've watched us say, well, 10 years ago, what was this? What was this vacation? And we've set a bad example for proving that we lose track of, so all of a sudden, if somebody was, and I don't know how many individual, like police-wise, everyone's going to have that, but there could be some, I believe that one, and what is the other one that's included in there? When you go over to the fire end as well. Yes, and then we got, what other, let me find the right page here.
Bottom page 4, what you're looking for.
Yeah, but I was looking for it in writing. Did you have anything else to say while I'm looking?
Dan had said in his budget that the 2% raise was for everyone, including elected officials. And he made the point that being more fiscally responsible than a huge increase every 10 or 20 years. I agree with that. This is your job, this is his job, the judge's job. Even the part-time employees got a raise, so I think that it would be good to do it across the board.
Well, as I said in my opening statement, that if the council decides to amend the ordinance to grant elected officials that 2%, then you're certainly welcome to do that. I think that the reason I support the firefighter and the police officer and the pay included is because it makes it more attractive to work here. Your pension base is higher. We can't go the wrong way, we have to go up. And this is a good start on why I think they should do this, why I think you should do it, because it gives them a higher pension base. Doesn't affect them now. It affects them 10 years from now when they retire. Doesn't affect me. I'm a retired firefighter. I don't benefit from that. My pension is established through the state of Indiana. Same way with Jim. So this is a tool to make it more attractive to come and work here. That's my take on it. That's why I think you should do it.
So when you talk about it being attractive to lure to help our employee base, what are other departments doing? Is this comparable to what other outside departments do for their police and fire? As far as the certification, how you're talking?
If I can just make a comment.
Yeah.
Most other departments still compensate their paramedics by a large amount. Very few compensate their EMTs. We found that it was harder negotiating, let's say in the past 15 years, that we could raise those small stipends easier. However, when that money is sitting in stipend form, it doesn't benefit our retirees or people who go out to retire. They collect it until they retire and then it's gone. If we add it to our pension base, like the mayor said, it makes us much more attractive when it comes to application processes because they look at that bottom end figure. Unfortunately, we can't just sell being a community figure and a hero anymore. We have to be able to compete with everyone around us, and we've fallen backwards every year. So this helps boost us forward while not taking any money directly out of an employee's pocket. It does, however, add us and make us more competitive when you're comparing those bottom end figures. We've got a plan in place to bring back some of those certifications over time as the city gets more fiscally solvent. But as it stands now, the membership, the guys who actually take that money, we all voted unanimously that we would like to do that. So it is in our favor to move that money over, as well as several other things. But so it is what the members wanted, and it is, in my opinion, I think it's a good place for that money because it benefits a multitude of people there, in that position in the pension base.
How does
the third
IFD
year
do
pay.
it? I think that was her question.
I'm sorry, IFD, they have a much higher pension base, and they pay their paramedics, I believe, $3,000 a year. I could be wrong on that. I'm not certain, but their pension base by 2020 will be, I think, $72,000, their third year pay for their base level firefighters. So,
Paul, one of the things you said, though, when you talk about rolling over, is one of the comments I know that a few people had was then all of a sudden there never was a certification pay, and then it kicks back in that someone comes up with another one, which means I just look at it after some discussion and things that I've talked with people. It just seems like we're trying to get one place to get to another, and you end up going back where you were in some ways. Exactly like certification pay. All of a sudden, we don't get certification pay. That's what will be said 3 years from now. We don't get it. They'll forget it was rolled over. We need to get certification pay. And I'm not the bad guy. I'm the first one saying if there's a way to do it differently. I guess I can say this, and then I'll quiet down for a minute. I appreciate the thought involved with the officers, because they're, like I say, at that moment next year, it's not going to get a penny more. So I appreciate their thought. I can say that. So.
Now, if you have a paramedic, he gets paramedic certification, and then he does not get, he loses his certification, does not keep it up as cert. Now, is this done individually, each person's base salary?
no. As it stands right now, yes, because it's in stipend form. If you're a paramedic, you earn that stipend. Just the way we would like to move it over is that it's spread out among everybody, because as it stands now, we have roughly 8 EMTs on this department who don't currently earn that stipend. When we move it over, and Councilman Templin, I also see your concern as well with paramedics coming in and then dropping that, and you as well. we have a policy, whatever certification level you're hired in at, you would maintain. So even if you're paramedic or EMT, if you get hired in as a paramedic firefighter, you maintain that unless you sit down and have a special meeting with the fire chief, and he essentially says, okay, you can drop your certification, because that's such a valuable asset to have for the department, is having these paramedics. We do still, in our labor agreement, and you'll see it in that budget, I'm certain as well, or it's in our budget somewhere with our stipends, is we are still awarding our paramedics $250 a year for maintaining that, and the plan is to raise that. And I understand what you're saying, why would you even do that? Why not just keep raising it? Why move it to the pension base? Well, it's because we are only getting 2% raises every year. This is money that we can make ourselves more attractive to outside applicants. We had 20 people, I believe, or maybe 30, but 20 or 30 applicants come in this last process, whereas other area departments that can show a higher pension base would
Well,
bring
I
a bigger
already
draw.
get the fact from the beginning that once it's rolled in, 2% would actually be 2% on a certification pay.
Yes, certainly.
And I wasn't, so that's like I say, it is something that could be done there, but whether that means that, once again, and, I really try to be level for what the future council, the future city is going to be, and that's just why we were bringing up for discussion was all, for one thing. But it starts to limit the council, again, on certification pay. You're going to say, well, we're going to raise it, well, where's it at? It's already in the salary itself, so. But I understand you've answered the question, though.
Yeah.
For me, you have, at least.
You too.
Thank you.
Yeah. From the police side, it's the same thing. We decided we would rather do away with certification pay and increase our pension base. And I don't know what you guys are looking into, but we've already agreed to it and had the contracts voted on and signed. So I don't know where the plan is to go with that for 2018, but.
Well, then we don't even need to be here, then, do we?
That's not what I'm saying,
I understand,
buddy,
but-
but I mean,
Yeah.
I guess I'm just confused because the contract was already signed and negotiated.
I understand that by the mayor, the Board of Works, or whoever, but then again, they're not the money people either. I mean, the budget, so.
I mean, you can break the contract if you want to, but that brings a whole,
Well, first of all, that wasn't part of it. Part of it is that when conversation of the council has been brought up prior to the meeting, we are certainly going to share it with you guys as you would with us. That's the main thing.
so I guess I'm just asking, what are you asking? Are you saying you want to
Well,
roll back
we
what
weren't
was
trying
agreed
to take a
to?
penny
or-
away from anybody.
I understand. I'm
Yeah,
asking,
that
are you
wasn't-
wanting to roll back what was agreed to?
Well, on
'Cause I don't know if we can-
the surface, I'm not even suggesting that right at this moment.
Okay.
But I'm saying that is certainly what the conversation was, is when it's laid out there, it's line itemed, you can see where it's at. And, don't even want to use, that's what's been done forever, because no one likes that anyway. But one thing about forever, it's worked, at least on the city end of it. So it's just conversation. Anybody else wanted to jump in on that or anything to
So
say?
let me defer to the city attorney concerning what Nathan's saying. If it was the council's pleasure to keep that separate, and that conflicts with the contract they negotiated, what happens then?
Well, it's a problem because of the contract.
You're going to have to break the contract.
Yeah.
And then
And the contract can't be amended?
we would have to be willing to renegotiate, and we're not going to renegotiate that at this point.
They like their contract, they're not gonna renegotiate. Am I
My
right?
question would be, why are we negotiating a union contract before the city council does the salary ordinance? Because now they're twisting the city's arm. You gotta do this. This city council is the one that approves the salary ordinance, and so you're putting the cart before the horse.
Just to let you know, the contract, if you change it a little bit, it doesn't void it. It only allows for the attorneys from each FOP or the fire department to come in and do an audit of the city books, and they will say if you have the money or not. And then if you don't have the money, and then they will come back and tell the union, there is no money, or this is how much money it is. That's part of the negotiations.
So those attorneys then decide how this city spends their money, rather than the taxpayers by virtue of
No,
us as
they
being
don't determine, they
representatives?
only say, this is how much money. They come in with an auditor, certified auditor, and say, yeah, you have this much money. and this much money is how much city. And then you guys decide what you want to do. And then it can be a broken contract, as Craig says. Then it can go renegotiate or courts. It could get messy after that. But I want to answer Buddy's question. Certification for the police department is set by the state of Indiana. You have to go through a certified academy, and the state also says you have to have so many hours of training each year. It's not us. We increase that. But if you don't meet your training per year said by the state can pull your police powers and you lose your job. I think it's a little bit different with the fire, but I can't speak on them. But I can speak on us. We have to have it, or you lose your police powers by the state of Indiana, not by the city of Beech Grove or the Beech Grove Police Department.
So whose rule is it that you only hire officers that have been through the police academy?
No, we don't have a rule. We went after, well, the rule is they have to be perf certified. That way they can get a pension. But the state also says you have to have certified police officers that are trained with certain things. So the state says what your police officers will be trained in and what they have to stay trained in year after year, or their police powers can be removed or...
Well, my point is if there's no ordinance or anything that says Beech Grove Police Department only hires graduates of the police academy.
And
I think
that's it.
that might be it. Kevin, did you find your copy? Okay.
Towards the very back.
That's probably where mine's at.
The ordinance has been read into the record. At this time, I'll ask for a motion to approve General Ordinance Number 9, 2017 on first reading only.
Make the motion to approve on first reading only.
Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, the same sign. We will hear that ordinance on second and third reading at the next council meeting on October the 2nd. That concludes new business. Comments from council members. Bud?
Where'd Rinks go?
I'm waiting.
All right, that'll cover that, I guess. I want to thank Susie for coming up and bragging on Dan.
Yeah, we can do it next meeting. Let me look in.
And I have nothing further.
Okay. I probably do. Like Kevin said,
Jim?
probably in the back.
You're up.
I think it's very important that this council and the city takes care of our public employees, police, fire, border works, everyone that works for the city. We gotta keep good people here, and we've got good people here now. It's up to us to make sure that they stay here and reward them the way they should be rewarded. That's all I got to say.
I have not a lot to say, is I don't like the budget. I mean, I like our budget. I don't like budget time. Does anybody know Ray Skillman? He donates a lot to people like us. Somebody was just friends.
No, that works for him.
Vito?
No comment, just a lot to digest.
I want to thank the mayor for doing the salary ordinance, and kudos to your administrative assistants for putting this together. I think it was a great thing that you did. I specifically appreciate your helpful tips on the front page of the ordinance, and I think it was really put together well, and I appreciate the mayor and his assistant doing the salary ordinance for the first time. Thank you.
Chris?
I appreciate you doing a moment of silence for the 9/11 anniversary. That's it.
I don't have anything.
All right. The next meeting is October the 2nd at 7 PM in these chambers. We will hear these two ordinances on second and third reading. That will be the only council business that night, with the exception of Resolution 13.
What night is that, Dennis?
October 2nd, Monday,
7 o'clock or 6?
7 PM.
7 PM.
Normal meeting.
Even
Our
though-
meeting agenda did say 7 PM.
Yeah, down on the board it said 6, so that was,
know.
No, I just for no reason.
Yeah.
Thank you,
I would have been right with her if I didn't talk with you
See,
today.
it pays not to read that stuff, just show up.
thank you.
And
You said
also,
it.
you should have, if you checked your email, you should have gotten a invitation to a ribbon cutting ceremony. If you want to make, I'll send it back out again in October. It's for the Churchman Sidewalk Project. So, having said that, motion to adjourn.
Well, real quick on the Churchman, you have got a lot of good comments in that area for the city for that well-needed safety for the sidewalks in that area. So it's been something they've been looking forward to and been promised by who knows where down the line, so they're glad to see it.
Motion to adjourn.
Make said motion.
A second.